Hi, I'm Natalie Kolbeck and I love layering stencils. Let me show you an art journal spread using my stencil designs for Stencil Girl products. Art Nouveau wallpaper and Art Deco Summit. And I'm using a variety of paint media. First, I'm using some acrylic paint and I roll it out with a brayer, just to get a nice little background, nothing too fancy. And since I want not too much texture and I used heavy body acrylic paint, I'm flattening it out a little bit with some paper. Next, I'm taking my Art Nouveau stencil, which I really love because it has a lot of possibilities. And I'm using some acrylic spray paint, just spraying over the stencil to create a pattern. You can then also dab off a paper on top of the stencil, but I want to work quick and I just put the layer a little bit offset to create a more dimensional spray paint layering using some white. Now I'm using another stencil of mine, that's their Summit stencil, and I want to just make a mask. So, or not a mask, I want to make a stencil so that I can hide some areas that I don't want to have spray painted. So I sprayed on a sturdier piece of watercolor paper and I cut out the elements that I want to have in my design here, which I layer on top. So now I'm just using the paper to kind of help me protect the other areas, which is a little bit easier than using masking paper and taping it off around on your stencil. So I'm just using another color of acrylic paint. Again, I'm offsetting it a little bit and using some white, and then I'm moving it to the next spot I wanted. And I really love layering my stencils in this way. So much possibilities here with those stencils. Here, I actually didn't layer it perfectly on top of the other design. I was too quick and I didn't check if I did it all right. But you know what? I'm going to live with it and I'm going to deal with that a little bit later. So let's make sure that this time now I'm going to do a better job. If you want, you can also hold your stencils and down with a paintbrush, for example, the handle of a paintbrush. Or lift it down with some paper just to make sure that you get a nice and even spray painted area. So it needs a little bit more. So I'm going back with my other stencil and I'm going to use some new pastels. I really love those new pastels. They're really nice, soft and buttery. They're oil pastels and they're just so vibrant and highly pigmented. And it's really fun to use them through your stencil, and you don't waste too much of it if you go over. It's a little bit hard on your fingers, so you could also use a little rag if you wanted to. I like to use the finger just because I have a feeling, more feeling in my finger actually. And then I'm going also with another color here of with the same new pastel over some of the spray painted areas that I used my Summit design for. And just to add another paint medium and also to add more colors and make it, just pop up. And just like slowly adding more and more. And I love this soft texture that those pastels, oil pastels give to a page. So it's a great way to create a very soft texture, even though I smoothed it out beforehand when I used the acrylic paint on the background. I do love texture. But it's easier if you don't have the texture right on the background if you use pastels like that, because otherwise, it really hits into the grooves of your background texture, and then that's not quite the effect that I wanted to get here. So I'm just adding a little bit yellow more here and there, which then also appears green, which goes with the teal that I used. And I'm just like highlighting some areas, and slowly this whole page comes together. Actually, I'm thinking I want to introduce another color, maybe some pink. So I'm using a Posca acrylic marker and just freehand go around some of those areas. If you don't feel like using that, you could of course put the stencil back on top here, and then just go around the edges. But since I kind of like not did a good job on the second part of this stenciling, I want to enhance that handmade feel and, you know, just embrace that it's not perfect. Here I'm using some white acrylic paint and a brush to just sprinkle some white droplets on, and I'm repeating the pink by using a pink neopastel and just going again over by hand. I just love the dimension this creates, and, you know, still like the whole blending process. It's just such a satisfying feeling, and I really love it. There's always this one point where you're like, please stop me now, because I cannot stop working with those. So super fun. You just have to be mindful where you put them, because if you're going to add some journaling, they are oil pastels and they will ruin your nips of your journaling pen. So you just have to be careful that you don't want to add it everywhere. I'm using a fine tip Posca marker in black to add my journaling here. A quote that I had seen recently, and that really made me want to use it. And so there you have it. There's a layered art journal spread. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and you give it a try. Thank you.